Hello, everybody. This is Jen Kiaba. I am here today with fine art and commercial photographer Ronne Pierce, based out of Conifer, Colorado. I almost said California. Hello. And today we are going to be talking about the path to artistic discovery. So this is a pretty broad topic. We're going to be talking about really discovering your voice and your passion within photography, art in general. And so I want to actually turn it over to Ronne right away so that she can give us a little bit of her background in terms of how she started out as an artist, your education, etc. So go ahead and take that away.
Hey, how are you doing? Is the sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought we might be getting that echo still. I have always been an artist since I was a really little girl. My mom was a single mom, and resources were limited, and my mom's background in the opportunities in life were limited. Mm-hmm. And I skipped a couple of grades when I was a little kid, and my mom perceived me as smart.
Smarty pants.
So she had these high expectations that I was going to either be the first woman president or something, a lawyer. At that time, it was lawyer, doctor, something professional. Yeah. And I remember distinctly being very young and having a stack of National Geographics and telling my mom, I want to take these pictures. This is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, no, that's a small percentage of people in the world get to do that. That's not your path. You're going to be this or that. And she had this really tunnel vision of what I was going to be. So I kind of learned to suppress that dream. Mm-hmm. And when I got to college, I followed pre-med for 3 years. Yeah. And then, but I kept thinking, God, and right before college, something really big happened to me. My senior year, I was 16 and I was a senior, and there was an opportunity to go to Cancun on the senior trip, which
boy.
Yeah. Ugh. So then there was also this art and cultural tour of Europe. And I begged my mom, I'm like, I really want to go. And I was fascinated with Europe. I didn't really know, but I felt like I was being called. And when I got there, it was life-changing. I actually stood in front of the statue of David and had just this moment of like, I'm not a religious person, but I saw that statue and I thought, this is the closest thing I can imagine to God's walking on earth, is the person who carved this out of marble with his hands and tools. I was just floored, and it changed me forever. And if I had the art bug after that, I was done. So I did the 3 years of pre-med, and I just started scheming, like, how can I turn this into something I love science. I really do. But I needed like a balance of art and science. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to convince my mom, I've been in college 3 years, but I need something different. This is not doing it for me. So I literally found this career called biomedical illustration, where you would draw for textbooks, for medical textbooks, or, and I thought, I'm going to get to draw, and I'm going to do these like Leonardo style, illustrations. And I was super excited. So I started studying both tracks, art and medicine. And then literally I got into art, and I was just like, oh my God, this is me. This is what I want to do. So and then I started researching the field of biomedical illustration, and realized that most of it was digital at that point, even though, look, I was in college in the dark ages. So we were on like the original Macintosh, so it didn't keep my interest, because it was at that time, if you were in fine arts, like the graphic design building was like,
other side of campus.
Yeah, you can't make money from art, or you're not legit. That was the attitude.
That attitude still persists sometimes.
Really?
Too. Yeah. Yeah. If it's commercial, it's not art. Yeah.
I so wish I had taken more graphic design, because it would have made Photoshop so much easier.
Yeah.
But anyway, I avoided graphic design, and I ended up following 3 courses in art. My major was painting, and I ended up doing large oil figurative paintings. Mm-hmm. My minor was in printmaking and doing lithography and things like that. And then I also took 2 years of film photography. But I never felt like I fit in with the photographers, and I don't know why. But I just didn't. It was my school, the art department was male dominated, and I had several male teachers who told me women don't belong in art. I mean, still, this was in the in the early 90s. Yeah, it was really rough. And so I developed a really big case of imposter syndrome. So I thought everyone else here knows what they're doing, and I'm a total fraud. I have turned myself into an artist. I'm really not an artist. I don't know why I'm here. Yes, the whole time. I always felt like I went to the class and everyone else was ready for the class, and I wasn't ready to start the class till the class was over. It was this weird feeling of never fitting in. And but I loved it, and I stayed in my bachelor's entirely too long. It's embarrassing. I don't even want to say, but I studied everything. I loved college. I really did. And so I left I did do a final project. I did a painting final project, and I only did black and white film photography. I never made it to color, but I did do my own developing and everything like that, and really got into it, loved it, still have all my old pictures. And I got out of school, and I was going to go to do a graduate degree, and I just wasn't set up for it. My brain wasn't set up. I had one female teacher on the last day of college say to me, I really hope you're going to go to graduate school. You're very talented. And it was the first time that anybody had ever validated that this was real for me. And also a life-changing moment. You don't ever know when the one sentence you say to somebody is going to propel them. So I was in New Orleans, and I literally went into the restaurant industry, which is what we all did there. And I call it the golden handcuffs, because I was making a lot of money. I was a bar manager at Emeril's original flagship restaurant in New Orleans. I was making a ton of money. And I literally worked across the street from the gallery. It's called Soren Christensen, which represents Brooke Shaden. Now,
I know that gallery.
Ironically, right? My spot at the bar, where I was the bar manager, looked out at the gallery and saw the shows.
You're seeing your future.
Seeing my past, my future, my failures, everything was across the street from me. I was making money, but all my friends were showing their work, and I wasn't doing it. And so the imposter syndrome just sat with me for a really long time. And it was super damaging, I don't know, but I was in the art district. That's where I worked. So I never left it. And then I did some more painting a few years later and had some shows in some really small places. I actually sold a piece. It ended up in a magazine because a famous lady in New Orleans collected one of my paintings. And so I had some small little glimmers of hope, but I was painting these huge oil paintings. If you didn't paint the big boys back then, big and large, you weren't taken seriously. You were this hobby female sitting with her painting little birds or something, and so we all had something to prove. So I was carrying around these huge paintings, and I wasn't doing anything with them. And I just the dream just slowly withered and died and withered and died. And with it, I was withering and dying. And I ended up following a really weird trajectory that went off into a physical realm, where I became a personal trainer and a figure competitor and all this weird stuff that really wasn't normally me. But I had never gotten a chance to be physical because I was kind of that nerdy in the house kid reading books. So it was a little offshoot exploration. And I really learned a lot about the human body, which kind of tied back into my figurative art. And it was interesting. It was interesting. And so after that happened, I ended up getting married, and I ended up starting my family. And when I became a mom, I just started living for my kids. I didn't become a mom until I was 41. So that's really an interesting place in your life to become a new parent. And I ended up having 2 kids and adopting one. And so I had kids. I still have a 3-year-old, and I'm 50. So, it's an interesting place to become a mom. So I started focusing on, and I'm homeschooling. So I started focusing on homeschooling them. Right. And, but painting just did not fit into my life at all.
Yeah.
Like I could not whip out my oils and these giant canvases and be like, okay, y'all don't get messy or smell
Don't get
this
into
or
turpentine. Yeah.
don't get green damage. Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
I colored with them, and I brought my art sensibility to being a mom. And for a while, finger paints and loving on your kids, it keeps your art kind of part of you alive just a little bit. I mean, in the kid-like sense, something was always missing. And when I had my second child, I got a decent DSLR, got a Canon 60D crop sensor. And, I foolishly thought everything I knew about my Canon AE1 from the 90s was going to transform into like, I'm instantly a genius. But as I'm sure many people who have done this process, and it's kind of cliche, it's the mom who wants to take nice pictures of her kids. That's where it started. But I think subconsciously there was like a deeper
artist
root.
is like banging to get out.
Yeah. I mean, because I think most moms would just grab a point and shoot and go, and I was like, nope, I need to master this. And then I realized, oh my God, it's so different than film photography. It's so different. And there's a learning curve. And then I started taking pictures and I wasn't instantly good at it. And oh my God, that I was like the gap between what I was making and what I wanted to make. Like my taste was here and my skill was here. And I was like, I gotta close this gap. I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
I can't look at these pictures and go, I knew what was missing. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. I do.
So I just started learning everything I could get my hands on. Like insane amounts of stuff, because I was homeschooling and I was home. So I thought, what do I, when my kids are playing, I will study.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
I think it's so interesting because you've brought up a couple of things that I think would have stopped people in their tracks, both in your schooling. So in your undergrad studies, that fraud syndrome that all of us, I think, come up against. And a lot of people are saying that they recognize that. Ellen says imposter syndrome, totally recognize those words. Beverly says she feels the same way about her photography. Anna says you're an inspiration. She's still waiting forever to decide if she wants to have kids. I think that a lot of us, if we go through those experiences where we're not being validated in any way and we're being told we're not good enough, and that gender especially is a barrier. And I think that that's still something very present in the arts. And then that recognition, and you and I are very similar in our perfectionist tendencies, where when we see that gap, it can either be, I'm done. I'm just not even going to touch this because if I can't be perfect at it, I don't want it. Or you become obsessed with mastery. And I think it's really interesting that you've hit these hurdles that some people would definitely walk away from, and you've pushed through each time. And frankly, even motherhood for a lot of women can be a huge hurdle in terms of our careers and our art in general. So I find those really fascinating points to kind of bring up. So talk to me a little bit about what you studied and what appealed to you and why, in terms of when you were beginning your digital photographic career and education.
Well, I'm sorry, the dog is trying to jump on my lap.
The dog should say hi.
She's too big to be on my lap. She's awesome, but she's too big to be on my lap. So I initially I came at it from the mom angle, because there was that mom guilt. Like, how am I supposed to homeschool my children, give them everything, be the best super mom on the planet, but also take this little piece of something for me? So I applied it to my kids at first. And so the natural inclination for me was to go to some place like Clickin' Moms.
Right.
And I did. And I learned a lot from Clickin' Moms, a whole lot. And I'm kind of, at first I thought, well, I don't feel like I totally fit in, but I knew so little that I was willing to take information from everywhere. And I didn't even think about the free YouTube stuff or whatever. And I started doing classes on Clickin' Moms, and it was almost like a compulsion. I would do like 3 classes at a time. And then I would, I got all these tutorials. And if I wasn't with the kids, I was up late watching tutorials. And then I discovered Flern. And oh my God. Can Aaron just come hang out?
That'd be great.
Yeah, right. Like I need a Photoshop wizard in my life at all times. Anyway, I learned a lot from them. I really did, and it was nice because I could see there was a lot of encouragement there. The women were really supportive. There was something about it being a mostly female environment that was really cool. And, you know, a lot of people were trying to turn pro there, or Clickin' Moms pros and stuff like that. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. I always felt like there was this little part of me that just didn't totally fit in.
Yeah.
And I know I'm weird. I mean, I know, you know, it's like you don't come to 50 and not realize how weird you are. So I did that trajectory, and then I started to, it's almost like one thing would connect me to another thing and would connect me to another thing. I ended up doing a mentorship here in Colorado with Sarah Cornish, who is an amazing human being, and I just love her to death. And that's when I realized, oh my God, getting around an in-person mentorship is enormous.
Yeah.
And then, so I started doing that. I started taking local workshops, and then I started traveling and going to workshops and doing things like that. And I took in every genre. I wasn't very exclusionist at all. I knew right away that newborns were not my thing, not posed newborns. I knew, you just know.
Yeah.
And posed families, also not my thing. I studied it. I know about the triangles. I know about the smiles. I know about the focal length and the depth, but not my thing. And I kind of did that process of elimination along the way. And then, but when I ran into Brooke, like it was like time stopped, and I did, oh my God. Like someone is painting digitally, like someone is making photographs that are paintings.
Yeah.
And then I went, oh my God, bing, 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 like bells and whistles. And like, oh, there's this thing, it's a Wacom, and there's a pin, and you can like, and I just, and once I connected with her, and then going to promoting passion and being around what I would call my tribe of weirdos, and we're like all equally weird. And I just love that. Feel like completely comfortable and non-judged. And I wasn't a fake anymore. I was like, I felt like this is real. We're all really doing this, you know, at varying degrees and levels. And while we're all attracted to the same thing, everybody's work looks different. And that was when I realized more and more where I did and didn't fit in. But I'm so glad that I did take those fundamentals. I really am. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Sabrina says you're not weird, by the way. And Sarah says that, you know, she relates to the mom guilt. It's tough, but she wants to check out Clickin' Moms. And so I think it's really interesting when you kind of talk about discovering Brooke's work and her process, because it sort of brings you full circle to what you actually started studying with the painting. So lights started kind of going off, and then all of your education fell into place.
Right.
And so what I kind of want to dive into a little bit is that process of discovering your own voice within those genres of photography that you felt the most drawn to. Because when you, hello, pup, who is this?
This is Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
Bailey is very afraid of storms, and I don't think it's going to rain, but she seems to know like 7 hours in advance.
Oh.
And so she's having a little anxiety, I think. Wait, Bailey, don't pull my headphones out, buddy. Come on now. Oh my goodness. Oh, I told you she was too big for my lap. Go ahead, girl. Okay, stay down there. Sit. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Sarah also says weirdos are the best. Gotta let that freak flag fly.
Right.
So then, yeah, when you and I first met, I think that there were a couple of genres of photography that you were kind of deeply exploring, and others that you had explored that you were doing gut checks on to say, like, I don't like this, you know? And I think that you and I both experienced, I'd never participated in Clickin' Moms because not being a mom, it really wasn't my community, but through like Sue Bryce education and things like that, feeling this pressure, and of course, you know, we being the only people really putting that pressure on ourselves, that pressure to make money from those commercial aspects of photography. but not necessarily always kind of finding our own personal way to commercialize our work. So I kind of want to dive into some of what you and I had explored before with that. And what was that like for you, kind of having to go through that process of assimilating the information, but then rejecting what didn't feel right to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank goodness I found you and mentored with you. Like I had the same reaction to your work that I had to Brooks.
Oh,
I saw it and I thought, there's somebody working on her own terms, making her own art, taking self-portraits, which, you know, was appealing to me because I'm an introvert and I didn't really want to go asking a bunch of people to do weird stuff. You know, at first, now I will ask, and I'll ask people in the grocery store now, like, will you put on these antlers? Yeah.
That's
oh, yes.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think it comes with being 50. Like, you just do not care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really, what the world thinks. I don't have time for that, you know?
That's such a liberation.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
This way, it's the best years of your life. I promise you. So I found you and I said, well, you know, and I saw you offered a mentorship. And it's so great. And what are the chances? Like, I'm an INFJ and I have found every single INFJ person in this business that I can find. I must have 20 INFJ friends. Brooks an INFJ, you're an INFJ. And anyway, we just instantly had this rapport, and I'm a real empath. So, and what that often means for me is I don't see things sometimes until I show them to somebody else and see how you see it. A lot of times that's the only reason I publish something on Facebook or out into the world, because I almost don't see my pictures until I know someone else has looked at them. I know that's not strange.
No, I totally relate to that. I do. Like, I'll publish something on Flickr and suddenly I'm like, nope, got to change it.
Or, oh, I really see it. Like, and sometimes the meaning I have goes out with me, and then I let it be whatever they see. And then I'm just kind of like, oh, I see these alternate things that I didn't see before I published that. So anyway, meeting you and having that mirror and reflecting things off of you, and then having you like literally go through my work and kind of categorize it was so life-changing, because I didn't see a thread. I didn't. I had studied everywhere. Meg Bitton, Sue Bryce, clicking all of them, and had not. I was all over the place. And you kind of went, here's the funnel, and here's you, and here's what your work looks like to me. And I was like, you are so right. I see what you're saying. And going through that process, and then also you telling me it's okay to be you, and people will, you know, people, and going to Promoting Passion and hearing that message from Brooke, be who you are. Nobody can do what you do. You're unique. That really was what made me say, I'm just going to do my own thing. And that was great for a while, because I was just working in fine art. And when you're in fine art, and I don't want to say just working in fine art, that's huge, but you're working for yourself when you work in fine art. You shouldn't be working because you're going to, you know, oh, what are people going to buy, or what's going to look good over somebody's couch? You're doing it for you. And then you hope that the world loves it, you know, enough to like, or at least you reach the one person who needs to see your message or your work or whatever you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So that was where I was. And then my marriage started to not break apart. It makes it sound like so like, you know, but my husband and I grew apart as a couple. We're still very close. He's an awesome human being, a beautiful father. I couldn't have picked a better father, but we were not on the same path as a couple. And so now we're consciously uncoupled. I know that's such a cliche, weird term, but it's a real thing. We've decided to live apart, and we're raise our kids together in separate homes. We travel back and forth with the kids. So now I realized through us sort of disintegrating a little bit that I was losing me in that process. I had gained like 50 pounds. I was just always wearing gray, no makeup, bun on the head. Like, I wasn't making work. I wasn't doing, and it was like, what's wrong? And then through the creative process, I realized, oh, I let who I am disappear in motherhood. And that's not okay. Like, my kids need to see that I'm a viable human being with passion and love and interest. I watched my mom pass away with not completing the things she wanted to complete in life.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be that mother. I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found creative work again, I began being me again. And that's when I realized we just don't belong together as a couple.
Yeah.
You know, so that is also sent me into, hey, you need to make money as a photographer. If I want to continue homeschooling, mm-hmm. and, you know, I'm like, I have all these skills. Surely I can manifest this into something that's financial.
Yeah. A couple of questions had come through, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Katrine has asked, has someone's reactions to a piece ever changed your own feelings about a piece?
Well, okay. Not enough to ever make me want to change my work or take it down or like not feel good about what I made. Yeah. No, it's so personal. And I mean, either it's the age or it's the INFJ personality. I don't know, but I almost don't care if you get it or not. I had to make it, and it had to look that way. And it's also a part of my process. Like I kind of have to go through, oh, maybe this isn't the best thing I've ever made. But if I didn't try this, then maybe I wouldn't have made something later that was one of the best things I had made. Yeah. So I don't ever regret any of the things I've put out. I do cringe sometimes when I go back, but I love history so much. And one of the biggest things for me when I was studying, and I still study, I'm still studying every day. But one of the biggest things was seeing people go from like the crappiest photographer on the planet to like amazing. And I was like, if one can do it, so can another. Yeah. It's highly possible. So, you know, Michelangelo made that statue out of marble with his hands. Like, you can do it. Like, you just have to really keep plugging away at it. So, I don't have regrets about things I've made. Sometimes I get a little shy about being exposed, but I'm also starting to not care too much about that.
Beverly asked, what is an INFJ? So for anybody that's curious, there is a Myers-Briggs personality test, and there are 4 different like quadrants to a personality. So whether you're introverted or extroverted, intuitive, sensing, feeling, thinking, judging, what's the other one? Perceiving, there you go. So on those 2 kind of different spectrums, then you can kind of create a personality type. So INFJ is introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging. So actually, Ronnie and I both have that personality type. And so it kind of means that we're very geeky, introverted, very deep in personal life. Not a lot going on the surface sometimes. Yeah, but just all the weird is here. Yes. Yeah. So
and we're also rare. We're 1% of the personality types of the supposedly, but in the photography community,
I think there's a lot of them.
My goodness, it's a mix of art and science. And it's that mix of introversion where you're behind the camera, not in front of it.
Yeah.
So 16personalities.com is a great place to take that test. It's free, and it's kind of a fun one. It's not too long. And then they give you percentages at the end that show you what you are.
And there's no good or bad about it or anything like that.
No.
INFJ has sort of been fetishized a little bit because supposedly it is so rare. So if you get a different personality type than that, don't feel bad or anything.
No, and not only that, but
Beverly says sounds familiar.
The only reason it mattered so much to me personally, because I normally the labels, whatever, but the only reason it matters so much to me personally it was the first time when I read that I realized, oh my God, I'm not crazy, first of all, because there's a lot of days where I thought I was crazy. I'm not so weird. I mean, there are others like me. And then I found communities of people who were that. And I was like, we get each other. Oh
yeah.
You know?
Yes, Sabrina says she's an INFJ. Judy says she's an INFP. Beverly says it sounds familiar. And then kind of on another note, Anna mentioned that, you know, she has studied every day too. And she just highly recommends that is something that, you know, we all do in order to kind of keep our skills up. And learning from each other is so important. And going back a couple here, Beverly also mentioned that in terms of like mentorship, having somebody
Yes.
kind of take a look at your body of work and help you
Mhm.
synthesize it as a perspective she needs. And then Sabrina says, same here. Katrine says, oh, Katrine, sorry, thank you for the correction. She says she's also INFJ, but it can change. Yeah, I think that as we
Yeah.
grow, we can evolve personalities
Mhm.
and the way that we
Mhm.
process. Heather says she's
Mhm.
never taken that test, so take the test after the
It's
broadcast.
fun. It's at least fun. It's like a get to know yourself moment,
Yeah,
like, oh,
definitely.
I feel understood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so actually, I think that that's a really interesting transition because when you and I first met to do that mentorship, you were beginning a series that I recommend everybody check out at RonnePierce.com. It is her gas mask series. And to me, because I met you right around the time that you were beginning that process of consciously uncoupling, but hadn't really kind of synthesized it yet. And the gas mask series was really different for you, and you were very integrated into the Click and Moms community and some of those other communities that were more about kind of commercial portraiture. And so,
Right.
as you were releasing this work into the world, I want you to talk about what that experience was like.
Oh my goodness. It was like, well, first of all, it was like, okay, I'm making art again. Like I'm doing
Mhm.
something just for me. I now
Mhm.
have some level of skill and I'm applying it.
Mhm.
And like I said, honestly, going to that first promoting passion, I didn't go to the first year, but the second year I went to. And it was that let me know, okay, there's a lot of like people just freely expressing themselves, and there's a community for this, and you
Mhm.
don't have to look like everybody else or do the same kinds of golden hour family running off into the sunset work to be viable. And
Mhm.
it just kind of got me back into the art world instead of in the I'm just learning photography world. And so you know originally, I was attracted to the gas mask because I see it as a survival thing. And I don't mean that in the terms of like some weird prepper sitting in the mountains, planning the apocalypse. No offense if any of you are prepping. We're all going to die. I mean, really, we're all going to die. It's going to be okay. But the survival thing is, I saw it as a, like, when they say to you on the plane, if the oxygen mask drops down,
Mhm.
put on your mask first and then
Yes.
save others.
Yeah.
Well, the gas mask for me was my attempt to save myself artistically and as a woman and as
Mhm.
a person, as a human. And then I could be something for my family again, instead of just depressed and lethargic and dropped out and like overwhelmed and underpaid and all those things. So I just had that kind of like that germ of an idea. And also I'm an introvert and I don't particularly love how I look in photos. So it was a comfort zone thing. It's like, if I'm
Mhm.
going to go out and take self-portraits, and Brooke had told me a couple of times, hey, anonymous portraits in fine art sell, whereas pictures of your face, people are not going to hang this in their home. So you
Mhm.
might want to consider some form of anonymity. It might work better for you in fine art.
Mhm.
So, and that made sense to me. I mean, I didn't want to put my face out there anyway. So it was like filling a bunch of needs at first, like letting me experiment, letting me get in front of the camera, letting me put on something that covered my face so I could be any character I wanted to be in that moment. I could express any emotion. I could do weird things with my body and not worry about what kind of weird face I was making. And so I started there, and then I realized, like, this is never going to go on Click and Moms. This is not going to happen. It's not. It's and no offense to them, they have some very progressive. I mean, Jessica Lutz, who I love, has some amazing composite work and some things on Click and Moms. That's and I know she was considered probably different and alternative, and I think they're very much more open now to that. And it's probably my own hangups and insecurities that made me feel like I maybe couldn't put it there. But I just wanted the freedom to explore on my own. And so I started that process. And then I realized there was an isolation component. When you put on the gas mask and you're doing the self-portraits, So you're running around with this gas mask on and you're breathing inside of this gas mask. And then thank God for my friend Amy, who goes to Promoting Passion. She's so awesome. She showed me an intervalometer for the first time. And if you don't have an intervalometer and you take self-portraits, you are missing the mecca of self-portrait taking. It hooks to the side of your camera and it just takes pictures at whatever intervals you set it for, right? So I would put it on there and I would get, because running back and forth was not fun to like, and Brooke uses that little Canon remote, or she used to, and puts it in her mouth and does all this stuff. I would be like on the side of the mountain, like trying to click that thing and couldn't get my camera to respond. So the intervalometer changed my life. I would run around and when you're in that gas mask, the breathing becomes almost like you're in an isolation chamber. I don't know if, and you just hear the sound of your breath and you're sitting in front of the camera and it gets almost meditative. I know that's a little wacky. I realize this.
You're talking to a girl that does a lot of construction with gas or like filters on, so I totally understand.
Oh, it's gotten so weird in my house that I change diapers with the gas mask on. Like my kids will all put the gas mask on to change the baby's diaper and be like, "Oh my God, my poor kid's gonna have such a complex." They're like, "Weirdos, change my diaper in a gas mask." Oh, I told you I was weird. Anyway, so yeah, and then I even have one that has like like the spout on it that goes to the canister. Yeah. If you put the canister on, you can't breathe. But if you leave it off, it makes this insane elephant sound. So like the whole time I'm trying to take the picture, I'm in hysterics because I'm going like, but and you were the first person, well, you were the only person I was talking to about it at the time, because it was kind of a private thing for me, who pointed out that, some different aspects of it that really, I was like, oh, I didn't realize. I started renting hotel rooms. And I would go into the hotel room and, first of all, weekend away from my soon-to-be ex-husband, weekend away from my kids, because we were separated, but we stayed living together for almost 2 years, separated. And so I would go take a weekend away and I would go to a hotel. It could be like the cheapest hotel, whatever. And I would just like go and kind of be surprised what's in the room. What can I use in this room to make my work? And I would just bring like something to wear, maybe 1 or 2 choices, and the gas mask. And then I would let the idea unfold once I was in that space. And you pointed this out to me. It was a neutral space. It didn't have any emotions tied to it. It was almost completely like a set, like a studio set. And I would go in and I could transition into somebody else and something else. And that was huge for me, getting that alone time where no one was looking at me and I could just make these pictures. It was much easier than doing it outside. So that's kind of where it started. And it ended up being a dialogue about my divorce, about what I felt like being a mom, what I felt like being torn into hundreds of places. I had a lot of early composites that were multiples of me because I felt like 10 different people at once. And I was trying to express like, and I can go back and look at them now and I can see the journey I've been on. And I still have some I haven't released that are from different times in the past, but I need them to come out when I'm going through the emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll often tie them either to a song lyric or to an experience I just had. When I started dating again, I had some different explorations there. So yeah, and I don't know if I'm done. I'm definitely not done releasing images from it. I've taken a ton. But I don't know if I'm done actually taking new ones. We're going to Joshua Tree this October, and I've got one just sitting right here that I cannot wait to do in the desert. Like if I can get some alone time. Yeah.
We could do a demo for people too, if you don't mind. They'll be
watched part. I don't know about all that, but I don't mind being watched by a few people. But I don't know.
Yeah,
not my thing.
So when you started releasing that series and work in that vein, what was the reaction to that work? Because you had been releasing very different work prior to that on your various social channels and whatnot.
I got a few, I would call them people who don't tread in the art world. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like literally no like exploration into anything esoteric or arty or whatever, would say like, oh, I mean, I love your work normally, but this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I get the gas mask thing and it's kind of unsettling and you're upsetting me in a way. And I don't know if, you know, I'm not sure I can look at that or, and I'd be like, good. I'm really glad to hear that because, you know, I was told once that art is anything you can't ignore. You either feel emotionally thrilled, happy, loving, some emotion, or you feel like, oh, that makes me mad or angry, but you're not milk toast. You're not in the middle. You're like here or here. And I love that. Like, so I hope people either love it or hate it. You know, I'm good with that. Like, that just means that it has something, you know, you can't just walk past it. So, and I've made some duds for sure. I've made some duds, but there's still my personal emotion in it. So I don't feel like it's not personally a dud. It might be a dud artistically, or it might not be the most exciting photo. But I was always very deliberate. So I stand behind every single one of them. Like, it's not like I accidentally made one. I made them all on purpose. So yeah, it felt weird at first, like just being out there myself instead of pictures of my kids. But I will tell you that I've put my kids in the gas masks too. And I still have some of those to release. And those always get the most universally like interested response.
Really?
Which, yeah, the ones of my kids. And I think it's because of the things going on in the world and you know, the volatile unrest and things and people seeing all the stuff in Syria. I think, you know, when they see a kid in a gas mask, it just kind of tugs at the heartstrings. And it wasn't my intention. Like, there was just days I couldn't do it myself, or I had something to say about the family and I needed a kid to make that point for me. So I still have some of those to release too. I'm so behind. I hope everyone's behind on editing like I am, because I feel like I don't even know what to say. I love editing so much and people keep telling me to outsource it. I'm like, are you insane? I can't. No, like that's everything. Anyway.
Sarah says some of her favorite compliments are when people are grossed out or repelled by her work. She says, to me, it's a window into something about them, which I find fascinating. And Heather says we should do a gas mask photo to counter the animal onesie ones at Promoting Passion. And
oh my
Anna
God,
says yes. Yeah,
we did that. Draco Rubio Roderick, who is like Photoshop wizard god to me. I love him, and I was so excited to meet him at Promoting Passion. He indulged me and did some portraits with me with the gas mask on, which I haven't edited yet because I've been too intimidated because he's so amazing. But I'm going to, because they mean a lot to me. Mostly the memory means a lot to me, but he got us all together on the last day of Promoting Passion. Where the hell were we? I've been so many places.
We were out in Buffalo, New York. Yep.
We all got on this mini golf course, and he and I wore gas masks, and he turned everyone else into composite zombies, and we were playing like this putt-putt. It was amazing. So yeah, we've done stuff like that before, and I'm totally open to it. I must have 20 gas masks. It's really interesting to go through TSA.
Yeah.
But I bring them with me. I check them, you know, the ones I'm not afraid to lose because I can replace. The vintage ones, I have some from World War II that I can't even begin to replace. So
but taking those through your carry-on would be a little difficult.
Right.
Ellen says, I love your gas mask series, creative,
Thank
different.
you.
I assume that your other portraits are to support you. So how do you continue to get excited when doing regular portrait shoots versus the gas mask series? I think that's actually a really great transition, because my next question to you would be, how has your exploration of fine art deepened your ability to connect to other genres? And Heather asks, do you have a go-to photographer that you continue to look at for inspiration? Heather, I think that there have been a lot of different photographers. A lot of different photographers.
Sorry, my psychic powers are so strong.
That have been mentioned. So, you know, one of the cool things about talking to Ronne is she's like a mental library of amazing photographers. So after the talk here, I'm sure Ronne can drop some of those recommendations into the chat, because we've definitely mentioned a number of them so far. But yeah, so when you and I first met, you were not sure if you wanted to do commercial work at all. You were kind of turned off. Yes, Beverly, it must have been a ghost, or maybe my cat. Got two of them wandering around. You weren't sure if you wanted to explore commercial photography at all. And I think this was probably because the fine art part of you is just beginning that deeper exploration. So now you are doing both. So how do you kind of make sure that your commercial work, well, first of all, let's talk about how you got into commercial work again in a way that was appealing to you. And then how do you stay excited about it?
Yeah, I all through my workshops and mentorships, and you know, a photographer would get up to talk and they would introduce themselves. And because of the circles I was studying in, inevitably they would have at least one, if there was a multiple teacher workshop, or, you know, I would run into this story over and over again. It would be, I was a mom. I wanted to take nice pictures of my kids. I got a camera. I started taking pictures of my kids. My husband got mad. The hobby was too expensive. He said, you either have to go into business or you need to quit buying lenses. And so I went into business. And that was a story I would hear over and over again. I was like, oh, ooh, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want to do this, because if I start monetizing this, I'm going to compromise what I love. And so I was afraid of it. And that was also that fear from being in art school. And I mean, we didn't go, not only did we not study graphic design, but we didn't walk in the business building. Like, that was taboo. Like, you didn't go deal with, no, money was the root of all evil when I was in college. I don't know. I wish they would have taught us something about money. I wish I would have been open to it, because I've had to learn as an adult to accept money, that money's okay, that we all need is to live, and you don't have to be a millionaire, and you don't have to take advantage of people. But it's okay,
and you don't need to get taken advantage of either. Yes, valuing yourself is so important.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's so, and here's where I think that long road into not, where I had the choice and the luxury to not make money, the long road into that, listening to people talk about, oh, I don't know if I can charge this much, and I'm charging $200, and I have such empathy that I would look at them and I'd be like, don't you understand how talented you are? You need to charge more money. I don't care if so-and-so down the block or your neighbor can't pay. You cannot keep assuming people can't afford you. Someone bought Walmart. You know what I mean? Someone has the money. It's there. The world is full of abundance. It's okay to value yourself. And it's okay to put a price tag that you feel is acceptable for the amount of work, effort, and passion that you had for whatever you're making. And I don't care if it's commercial work or art. If you believe in it and you put time, effort, and all this studying, all these tutorials you've bought, all the things you've done, all the workshops you've attended, let someone pay you back for what you're good at. It's okay. So I would give that speech so much to other artists and to other people. And to, you know, I was constantly preaching it. Like, I would be standing next to them, outraged, almost in like a motherly way. Like, you need to make money for this. Like, you're amazing, you know? And, and so I listened to myself say that so much that there was no question that when I started to charge, that I wasn't going to go to the, I'm going to give you 45 digitals for $100. And I know I spent, 3 weeks on this, but I'm not worthy. No, there was no way I was going to go there, because I had preached it for like 5 years to people. And and Brooke, again, was a huge influence. I saw what she was charging. I wanted to buy a piece and couldn't afford it. And I was like, but somebody can. That girl is selling her work. So yes, woman, girl. I feel like she's my child because she's so much younger than me. But anyway, so because I at some point stopped having the luxury of just making work and not worrying if I made money, and also because I had spent so much money on this. Like, I poured a lot of money into the study and a lot of money into tutorials. And I want to say this right here, because I said it to a friend yesterday, and I really mean it. Yes, tutorials are great. Yes, workshops are great. Yes, mentorships are awesome. But be very choosy and specific about what you pick, especially when you're feeling low. Because when you're feeling low, you tend to think the answer is outside of me.
Oh, yeah.
Someone else knows the secret and I need to get that. Someone else knows how to do what I want to do and I need to get that. And that is very true. But there's a ton of free stuff on YouTube. Learn is amazing. I mean, you can study from now until I'm dead, and I would never study all of Flern.
And that's just the free stuff, yes, because they do have the subscription as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And look, I've spent the money, I've bought it, I've done all the tutorials, and there's been some, I swear to you, and there's been some workshops and some tutorials where you'll get it, you'll pay good money, and you'll say, I already know this. And if she can do it, so can I. And maybe that was the whole lesson. But so sometimes that's what it is. But I just want people to know the answer is not outside of you. The answer is in here. Yeah. It's getting up every day and trying and making the work. That's
we have to find that balance between consuming and creating. And it's very easy to get stuck in the trap of I need more education or more tech or something outside of myself. And that's actually why I love Brooke's Whitewall Wednesday series that she's starting up again. If anybody hasn't watched it, it's such a wonderful inspiration, if you like her style, about what you can create on limited budget, with just yourself. And because that was a trap that I got into too. It's like, well, I need to buy a new tutorial to learn the things that I must need to know.
We've all done it.
Yeah, and you can dump so much time and money into things that don't move you forward if you don't make the progress in terms of what your output is.
Yeah, just be really specific and choose the things that are going to take you to the next level. And maybe it means buying one tutorial that you go, oh, I can't believe I bought this because I didn't need this, but you definitely need to be choosy. Okay, so I stopped having the choice of not making money. So I had to find a way to monetize what I was doing. And I had a few shows. Some of the people that are in your group, we've been in shows together, which was just amazing. And if nothing else, even if you don't sell anything, it's such a confidence boost to break that barrier the first time, get your art on a wall, and to know that like other people saw it, and just something to feel like, hey, I'm in this community and I belong, and it's a really great feeling. And I highly recommend it. You're going to spend money on it and maybe not get anything monetarily, but what you get in confidence and like a reassurance that, takes away that imposter syndrome quite a bit, to just be legitimate, hanging on the same wall as maybe somebody who you just think is amazing. All those people in the shows I've done recently, I was like, I can't even believe I'm hanging next to them. And it was such an honor. It really was. And I think we have another one coming up in November, which I'm not prepared for, but that will be. So I never thought I could rely on fine art for money. Not for me, not yet. I'm just not there yet. I would like to do some passion projects, maybe make some series, and then see is this series valid for, maybe showing as a group or something like that. That's in the future for me, and that's never going away. But I had to find a way. And I stumbled kind of through the workshop process on working with models. And you know what? As an introvert and as a person with my particular personality type, I don't like to force anyone to do anything. I like you to want it. Does that make sense? Yeah. I know it makes sense to you. I like to feel the desire from someone in it, even in being photographed. I don't want to pressure someone into being photographed ever. I want your permission. And models were so in love with that process and so willing to be giving in front of the camera that I fed off of that energy. And I'm very not girly at all, as you can tell. But I love high fashion in a way that I can't even begin to tell you. Like, it doesn't even make sense because I don't wear dresses. I have on Converse right now, and that's pretty much it. But I saw high fashion at the Metropolitan Museum of Art for the first time and was blown away by the artistry. If you haven't seen high fashion dresses up close and seen the stitching and the beading and the work, you're missing a whole faction of art that is just insanely beautiful. So having that like the models be into it and having dresses that were like interesting and beautiful and going, I was like, how can I go wrong? Like, you know, beautiful girl that wants to be photographed, beautiful dress, beautiful day, beautiful scenery. Like, I'm just so inspired and I love color. So it just kind of fell into, and what happened was I started working with this one particular model, and I didn't know that she was building a portfolio to like go show to become a model or whatever. I mean, I kind of knew, but I didn't let that resonate with me, because I'm like, I don't take traditional modeling photographs. Like, I'm weird. Like, I don't even know if you're going to be able to use these photos. Like, thanks for letting me experiment. I brought stuff from the thrift store. I don't know, you know. So we did these shoots, and she honestly got accepted to a modeling agency with my portfolio work. And they said her portfolio was unique and different, and they hadn't seen anything like it. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I can be myself, but I can also take pictures that actually help someone else. And like, that whole idea of being of service really resonated with me. So that's kind of like, and I was like, how do you monetize this? I don't want to be a high fashion, you know, I'm no Lindsay Adler, you know, she's amazing, but I'm not her, you know? So I just started, and here's where the switch came in. After my marriage and separation, I realized I had lost not only my artist part of me, but I lost what it meant to be a woman. I wasn't thinking about being a sexual creature or feminine, or, you know, I'm not very feminine. So it was really easy to become sort of like asexual. I'm just a piece of the furniture in this house, you know, which is sad. Yes, very sad. But when I started to rediscover and reach my peak as a woman, you know what I mean? My brain lit up about women losing that part of themselves. And women are beautiful and fascinating and sexual and gorgeous. And like, I'm just in love with the whole beauty, feminine goddess thing. And I saw these couple boudoir photos that they just stopped me in my tracks, and that connection and people like actually expressing love and that intimacy. I just thought, this is so cool. Like, and then, oh my God, I said, I'm going to try this. That was the one genre of all the genres I had never studied, boudoir. First of all, the name, I hate it, but boudoir. I mean, I know it sounds so weird, but it's, you know, it just tells you what it is, but it's so much more than that, like, you know, glamour shot of a woman laying on a bed. The first time that I took pictures of someone in that genre, and it was a friend of mine who let me practice. And she said, I've always wanted to be a model, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not pretty enough. So I was like, can you let me like show you how pretty I think you are? So I took pictures of her, and I watched her turn from an insecure, not confident, shrunken violet, so to speak, into like, I am an amazing butterfly. Look at how gorgeous I am. I cannot even believe that's me. I was like, exactly. Like, and then I realized, like, women are so, we are so hard on ourselves, and we are so, we're self-deprecating, and we're very realized, and we might like, you know, over criticize ourselves, but we look at other people and go, oh, she's beautiful. We can see. I just wanted to do that for people. And I am so addicted now. You don't even know. Like, ever since I started, I went to 3 mentorships with 3 boudoir photographers. They all had a different approach. I took what I could from them, and I'm turning it kind of into my own thing. So that's my primary focus, only because it's so transformative and I feel it's so empowering. And the demographic is like women 35 to 65, sort of. It is for younger women too, but I find it's women coming to you who need that boost, that second chance in life, that feeling that I matter and that I am relevant and I'm feminine and I'm not getting old and I'm not getting saggy on all these negative terms. Like, oh my God, it's so, and to watch what happens to them, it's so uplifting. You can't, I get so much from it personally that I feel like I'm of service to these people that I'm shooting. And so taking money is not an issue. because it's like I'm giving a service. I'm also being gratified as a human being, and you're paying me because you value what I did. So yeah, oh, it's so great. But I'm still doing other genres too. I prefer to do like documentary or lifestyle shoots. I would love day in the life in people's houses because I'm a voyeur. I would love to just go and watch people be them, like and interact, especially couples. Oh my God. Of all, any couple, any size, race, gender, I don't care. I just love connection so much. Like if you can get somebody's private space and just be a fly on the wall, that's the coolest.
What I think is so beautiful about your story too is that what you've done is you've gone through this personal experience and you're going through this personal discovery and healing and introspection, and then you're taking that and turning it into a service using your skills so that it's not completely disconnected from your fine art. And so you're able to stay inspired because it fulfills that artist's voice within you, you know, and it connects to that mission that you discovered through your fine art.
Right. And, you know, ironically, the stuff I did that was totally outside of the art world, which was physical, which was working with figure competitors and in the bodybuilding community and the fitness community. I learned a lot about the human body and how to pose it and what works and doesn't work and what flatters you and what doesn't. Because, you know, it's all in the posing. It's all in the angles. You know, everything in boudoir is angles, period. What angle am I shooting from and what angle do I have you on? And so it's a little bit of geometry. It's a little bit of, you know, science. It's a little bit of art. And it's also wanting someone to look like the best version of themselves on that day. You know, that's how I never alter people to make them look crazy and fake. I definitely keep them themselves and just the best, them on their best day. And it's awesome. I just love it. I really do. I remember you and I, like, we just I fell into it while I was mentoring with you, and you're like, that's so crazy that you're going into that because, you know, I've been attracted to it myself, and I'm telling you, it's everything I thought it would be. It really is. Yeah.
And Sabrina says your boudoir images are gorgeous. Sarah says she's been straying away from using models, but this makes it sound way less scary. Let's see. There are a lot of comments here. Let's see here. Really quickly, Heather wanted to know the brand of your intervalometer and how much they run.
$30 on Amazon. I think I have a Polaroid.
Okay. She said she's seeing them between $14 and $150.
No, don't spend $150. $30. And if you can have Amy set it up for you at Promoting Passion. She was like, let me show you how to do. Actually, she did it over the phone for me because I'm halfway techie and halfway like, ooh, this is too much. Like, outsource things you can't do. I promise you, that's one of the best pieces of advice I have. Outsource.
Yeah. Heather says one of the biggest struggles is pricing her own work, and she's glad to know that she's not alone. It's a work in progress. And then Beverly says, I don't do portraits to sell, but I'm still looking to market your work. So how do you get people to buy your photos?
Okay. So she's taking photos. Fine art portraits.
That's what I'm guessing. Beverly, if you want to jump in and let us know. But that's how I interpret it. So you could make your personal work, and if it's portraits and stuff, you know who's someone who's really great at this, and that is Laura Sheridan. She's in the group. She has a site called Sheridan's Art. She's amazing. I have one of her that round plaque up there is hers. I've done some editing classes with her, and she's so talented. But she does like fantasy style portraiture that is like, for her personally, fine artwork. But now, because she's put it out there, she's been on social media, she's been showing her work, she's been saying like, look at my style, this is what I do, look at what I'm capable of, basically, and is the undertone of here's my personal work. And I don't know how much of her personal work she sold because, you know, it's models in a costume. I don't know. But I do know that because she put it out there and she had a definitive style, that people come to her now for commissions, you know. And another person who you can look at is Hemi
Hammy is spelled Gemmy, and her last name, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this. It's like Wood Beninchik, WOUD hyphen Beninchik, and I can type it up for you. I went to her class, and one of the most amazing things I ever heard from someone at a workshop, she makes these fine art portraits of people, and they are like classical paintings.
Yeah,
they're
beautiful.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning. She sells one image. One. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You come to see her, you go in her studio, and she might take several photos, but she's crafting one image. In the tradition of the masters,
Yeah.
you get one painting. You know what I mean? So I don't know what she charges for it. She didn't tell us because she told me I would be mad that it wasn't enough. And I would be if it wasn't enough. But she makes one image.
Yeah.
So if you can get known for your fine art portraits, then you can monetize that by saying, I can make this work for you too. Mm-hmm. Like, you want to come in and play dress up?
Yeah.
Let's play dress up.
Yeah.
Do you want something? Do you want to be on a horse in a field? Do you want to be, what do you want to do? Let's do it. Let's play,
Beverly clarified and said she's doing landscapes and still life. So Beverly, I would definitely recommend taking a relook at the Q&A that we did with Elisa, because she's been selling a lot of landscapes, still life kind of things. So there's probably lessons from there that you can definitely glean. I think that the most important thing is developing that audience. So those lessons that Ronnie is talking about of showing people what you're capable of, and really building up that following, then people will continue to come back to you, and then building that network, sometimes building that email list to let people know what you've released. Ellen says, yes, love the one image idea. That works for me with the type of portraits that I do. And Missy says, I would love to be able to sell just my art and not do photo sessions or depend on them. Wouldn't we all? But at the same time, I just did a big client commission for a company that needed company headshots, and listening to Brooke Shaden talk, like she determined that she wasn't going to do that very early on in her career so she could focus, and other people have different paths. And so, I think that Anna and I talked about this in our Q&A, where building up that bridge to get you to where you want to be, there's no shame in that. So if you need to bartend, don't let it be your golden handcuffs, right?
Right.
Yeah. But whatever you can do to support you so that you're able to create your art as well. And if you want the fine art to support you in the future, then move in that direction. I also know other people who are fine artists who never want to put that pressure on themselves. So Elizabeth Gilbert in her book, Big Magic, which I think we talked about with Anna as well. It's a fabulous book. And she talks about how she never put pressure on her creativity to make her money. So that can really burn you out if you're not careful. So everybody has to strike their own balance and find what works for them. So when I do client headshots, it doesn't tap my creativity the same way as if I was constantly doing fine art commissions. And so that's why I will take client work when I can, when I need to support myself to fill in gaps and whatnot. So just something to think about. Let's see. So I think...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no. My last question is really just kind of wrapping up, because we've been here for an hour, and I feel like you and I, we always talked a lot. When we were doing our mentorship, we could talk forever. But it's been really interesting for me to be seeing this path that you've been taking since you and I met, and I'm curious to know what's next for you in terms of your fine art and also your commercial work and how you balance both of them.
Well, I think. Quite honestly, obviously my schedule is super limited. Not only now do I have homeschooling 3 children, but I drive back and forth so they can spend time with their dad, spend time with me. And my current boyfriend, who is a boyfriend I met from 24 years ago, we actually reconnected. He just moved here. He lives here. He brought his 15-year-old daughter, so I have her too. So I have a studio in my house. I live in the mountains in Conifer, Colorado, 9,000 feet up. And we had a sunroom that was kind of going unused, which was a double-edged sword. I made it into a studio, but I have small children. Can't have ladies in their lingerie around my small children. So I have made a situation where I really can only shoot when the kids are not here. So I'm going to have limited time. I can take probably 8 sessions a month. If I get that. I will tell you, I'm doing a business mentorship with some people who are strictly business and not so much art, which is good for me because I got the art part covered. I'm not so great at the business part. So these people are very business minded, and they are doing Google AdWords for me.
Okay, interesting.
So I had it started up for 3 days, and I got 4 inquiries the first 3 days.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So, and one of them is manifested already into a book shoot, and I've got some others on the line. Some guy said he's coming in from Saudi Arabia. I know, right? I'm like, hey, we're worldwide.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I have limited time. So here's what I'm hoping. This is what I'm hoping. I had to do a separate landing page that was more traditional boudoir.
Okay.
To appeal to the every woman, to not be tattooed weirdos and people who are different and people who are perfectly skinny and whatever, whatever the whole conception of what my normal site looked like. I have a separate site that's boudoirbyronnepierce.com. It's a one landing page. It's just, it's actually just a call to action. Here I am. Send me your inquiry. It doesn't even allow them to put a message because you know what they're going to put in the message is, how much do you cost?
Right.
So all they do is text me or email me or whatever. And they give me their number and I text them back, and it works. The system works. So what I'm hoping is that even though I might draw in the traditional boudoir client, I can say, look what else I can do. Like we can go on a 70s vibe. We can go we can dress up. I can do a formal portrait if you want. I'm hoping that when I get them in front of me, and I'm going to do everything in person. I know introvert freak out, in-person consults, in-person sales. But I believe the connection and the rapport and holding the tangible items. And here's this beautiful velvet album. Look at us. Like, wouldn't you want this? I know I did shoots myself, by the way. It's a rite of passage in the boudoir community to go and have yourself shot. And I've done 3 or 4. And it was the best learning experience you could have because you felt what it felt like to get in the positions. It's very clinical and it hurts. And
I call it model yoga when I have people get into those positions. Yeah.
You have no clue. The next day I work out all the time, and I was the most sore I've ever been in my life after those shoots. You're standing on your toes, you're arching your back, you're doing all these weird. It looks beautiful, but it's in practice, there's nothing sexual about it. It's very clinical. But anyway, having done that, I know what it feels like and how empowering it is. Like, I didn't even know I could look like that. So I was like, I got professional hair and makeup. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So anyway, my hope, long story short, I'm sorry, I ramble, is that I can get people into my space, my personal space, and say, hey, I know you might want this, but I also do work that's a little bit different. Yeah. What's the look you're going for? What do you want to do? And I can do traditional. And I think in the beginning, I'm going to have to do a lot of traditional. But I'm hoping eventually that there's enough demand that I can just niche myself as I do this. And if you don't want this, I'm not your girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to get.
I don't want to interrupt your business mentorship by any means, but as a girl that comes from a digital marketing agency, I would even say, and to anybody that's in a similar position as Ronnie, is to, yes, Google AdWords are great, but people are already at a point where they kind of know what they're searching for. Facebook ads are really great to start niching down into your ideal client and kind of entice them a little bit. It's a little bit cheaper, but it takes longer too, because you're getting people earlier on in their process. Maybe they haven't even decided they want a boudoir photographer yet. Maybe you're introducing that idea to them, and then they fall in love with your style versus on the Google AdWords. And then you're having to be like, well, here's my style, but I can do these other things too. I like the reverse. So when somebody comes to me, they're like, I want to work with you because I've seen your work. So for people that are interested, that's something to think about.
Well, and that's why I have the 2 sites. Because I have this one, because I have to make money right away, just on a personal level. It's time. I can't, I'm separated. I'm en route to divorce. he's willing to pay for everything, but I don't want him to.
Yeah.
I want to be
Yeah.
my own woman. So I want to make money now,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
that's my now.
And Google AdWords are great for generating leads right away. They may not all book, but it turns the traffic on for people that are interested. Yep.
Exactly. It's expensive, but it's the gamble I'm taking to get that initial traffic. And then I'm hoping to go solely to where you just talked about, to my other site where they see the breadth of my work. My Instagram is completely integrated. I haven't separated off. They're looking at gas masks next to boudoir, next to models, next to my kids. I mean, it's a little weird, but you know, hey, that's me. And honestly, I want to be there where I'm in that niche of, if you want me, you want me. If you don't, I'm not your person.
Yeah.
Right now, I have to get a little bit of that lead generation. And then when I have that comfort, then I'm going to go like back to, you know, hey, we're in this for the art of this purely. And I'm still making art with, and still servicing, and still, you know, with the ad generated stuff. I'm still making people happy, and that's fine. So that's why I can do it. That's why it's still working.
Yeah, I think that there's a really beautiful idea of having people come to you because they know your story and they feel that trust in you to be able to have their story expressed through your lens, literally.
That's what I'm hoping to do when I get them in person.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping to do. It's like, I know you came to me for this, but let's talk. Like, what do you really want? You know?
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. We should definitely do a chat with everybody that has done advertising, because I think that that's something that a lot of artists don't explore, or photographers especially have explored it, and maybe like they've felt that it's a dud. So we'll get like a panel of us together and talk about ads someday. Heather says, I love being diverse. I think it's important to explore. Thank you for your inspiration and information. And then other Heather says, I wish I knew how to be as brave as you've been. I've been sharing more. The concrete path hasn't revealed itself. Thanks for the inspiration to grab my art by its horns. Heather, I don't know that a concrete path ever reveals itself. I think that it's so easy to look back and see the path, but it's never easy to look forward and see the path. I feel like there's the machete that we all have that we're trying to kind of like stumble through. And you know that there's a destination somewhere in the future. But I've never seen a concrete path for myself. I know where I want to be, and I take actions to try to get there. But I think, Ronnie, you could probably attest to the same thing. Like,
oh my God, it's not even there. I don't really feel like anymore that there is a destination, because so many little things that have like made me who I am, and reconnecting and claiming my history and being proud of where I've come from. All those little pieces have put me right here in this moment. And like, honestly, it's, oh my God, it's so cliche, but it's totally the journey, guys. It's totally the journey. Like literally, it's, you know, my parents were gone at 60. My dad died at 64 and my mom died at 76. And honestly, like, that's so young. Like, I'm 50. So that's 14 years if I live as long as my dad. I got no time to waste. I you know, it's the now. It's in the now. Like, just do it. Just get up every day and do something that makes you feel super, super inspired and happy. And if you're fulfilled, people are going to respond. People are going to see your fulfillment and say, I want to be like that, or I want to feel that, or I want to look at that. Just do that. Just do that.
What a wonderful piece of inspiration to end on. Thank you so much, seriously, for joining us and sharing your journey.
I'm so excited that people came and watched.
Yeah. I mean, it was really inspiring to me to be able to talk to you early on, and again, to sort of see the progress in the past year and a half or 2 years. So
I'm a lot happier, right, than I used to be.
Yes.
Right? Oh my God.
And this sounds so bad, but sometimes I feel like that unhappiness is so important to fuel us. You know, like, don't stay in the unhappiness, but like, it's such a catalyst for discovery and creation and healing. So Beverly says that's what keeps me going, is just creating and finding the things that make you happy. I'm assuming that's what you meant, Beverly.
Every day, even if you get up and make crap, get up and do something artistic for yourself. I don't care if it's bake a cake. I'm not the best baker, but sometimes that's how I get the creative mojo. You know?
Yeah. Sometimes I have to make banana bread because it's the only thing I feel like I can do that day.
I'm gonna eat a bunch of it.
That feels creative too. Yes. So again, thank you so much. Thank you everybody that joined us. I think that there are a lot of really great questions that came up. Judy says thank you. Sarah says thank you. Ellen says thank you. Everyone says it's been wonderful and inspiring. There are a lot of resources that Ronnie mentioned in our chat, a lot of different photographers. I know that Sabrina dropped one into the chat. But if there's others that you want to share, resources, people that you've learned from, please feel free to kind of go back and just make note of them.
Okay.
But
I think what I might do is make like a general blog post and then just
great.
The blog post to the chat. Because that way I've got the list somewhere anyway. I would love to go back and realize how much stuff I've studied and how many people. So it'd be fun.
And guys, if you have questions, Cynthia says perfect. Ronnie is a wealth of knowledge. Just looking at her work, I'm constantly amazed at how much she has mastered everything that she has done. So if you guys ever have questions about stuff, she can help you, point you in the right direction. So again, thank you so much for your time. It's really been wonderful. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Oh my God, my kids are so good.
Yeah, they were great. And your dog was pretty good too, except for that one moment of anxiety, but it was cute to see your dog.
Probably trying to tell me something about the kids.
Oh boy. All right. Well, hope they're okay. I will let you go now. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.